All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Youth Advisory Commission meeting. It is March the 1st, 2021. It is now 6:04 p.m., and we are going to call the meeting to order. Marie, I saw in the chat that you wanted to jump in and lead us tonight. So go right ahead. We can start with introductions and approving the minutes from August, way back when. So I hope you guys had a chance to review those, and we can discuss those once you allow everyone to introduce themselves. So I'll turn it over to you now, Marie.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Ms. Reeves. So I guess we'll start with introductions. My name's Mari, and yeah, I guess we'll just... All right, Marcia, do you
My name is Marcia Greenberg. I'm a former adult advisor to the Youth Advisory Commission, and I'm just delighted to have a little time with you all to get caught up.
I'm Rebecca. I've been in the program for a little while, but it's nice to be back this year again.
We also have Kelsey Bush.
Hi, Kelsey Bush. Glad to be here this evening to help out any way that I can.
And I believe we have Marcia Williams on the phone.
Yes, hi, Marcia Williams.
All right, well, I am Latay Reeves, and I am the
former...
Okay. Go ahead, Marcia, I'm sorry.
I should just say glad to be here this evening, former adult board member for the Youth Advisory Commission.
And I am Latay Reeves, and I am the Youth Advisory Commission Staff Support Liaison. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Marie, we can go ahead and approve the minutes if you want to give a motion for that. Or I will accept the motion for approval of the minutes for August the 3rd.
It's up to you.
So you could say so moved, and then Becca could second, or vice versa.
So I motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. So I know the next line item is for us to discuss or talk about the elections, but because we have our former adult advisors on the call tonight and we want to be respectful of their time, we're going to yield the floor to them first. So I'm not sure who wants to start us off, whether it be Kelsey, Marcia, or Marcia, Marcia G or Marcia W. So I don't know who wants to go first, and really what we want you guys to speak to tonight. The YAC has worked very, very hard despite some of the obstacles, impeded by COVID-19, to stay as vibrant as they possibly can. And although they are a small committee or commission at this time, they have been very, very diligent at attending their meetings, being very thoughtful about different recruitment strategies and different initiatives that they want to put in place to try to beef up, for lack of a better term, their membership. And so we thought that it would be a great idea to have you guys bring your expertise back to the table to try to help us to strategize as to recruitment even speaking to the adult advisor role. Unfortunately, we don't have our adult advisors attending tonight. There were some unforeseen circumstances that came up that prevented them from joining us tonight, but they are uber excited about being a part. And so if you guys could speak to recruitment strategies, the role of the adult advisor, as well as how to create some level of sustainability for the YAC, because I think that's something also that we run into with our different youth, growing up and going off to college, just how we can, make this commission more vibrant. So with all that being said, I'll turn it over to whoever wants to jump in and share your thoughts. Don't all jump at once.
Well, let me just, first of all, again, I just want to applaud those of you who are participating as youth advisors, and sort of remind us all that this youth advisory committee started as an idea at an NAACP meeting at the Higher Education Center, when some of us suggested that there was a real need for the county to have some sort of a youth advisory mechanism. Since they get advice on everything else, there seemed to be a gap that there was no mechanism for advising the commissioners about youth issues. So that's where this started. At that meeting, to his credit, Commissioner Todd Morgan said, well, we ought to be able to do that. And we were delighted that there would finally be some mechanism by which youth-related issues or concerns could be engaged with the commissioners. Then, as I understand it, and Kelsey can speak more specifically to this, then Kelsey was given the opportunity to design a youth advisory commission for our county. So I will put forward, as gently as I may, my concern from the get-go that I really believed then, and I continue to believe, that it should not just be young people advising the commissioners about youth issues. And that is not in any way to limit or denigrate you all as the youth advisors. It has to do with government relations, political power, opportunities to have an impact. And the fact also that from the work I've done on youth development, it is usually advised that the aim is to have a positive experience of bringing young people and adults together, to be mutually respectful and to learn from one another, as I know I've learned from both of you, from Becca and from Mari. So given the fact that that is not the way that it's been structured, I think it's important to consider how a youth advisory commission that is only youth, because Marcia Williams and I and Maria have been advisors to youth advisors, but it means that we have a sort of a structurally a peripheral role where making a motion and making a decision is up to you all, the young people, which is fine. I mean, I think that's a great thing. And so the main question I want to leave with you all is, when we had our first retreat with the inaugural group of youth advisors, in that retreat, we had some discussion about advisors to whom. Okay, to advise is a verb that should have an object. I advise someone. And so if you are advising the county commissioners, that's one thing. If as a youth advisory commission, you could as well be advising Dr. Brewster on health issues, you could be advising Sheriff Cameron on law enforcement issues. Part of what I think needs to be teased out a little bit more is whether the Youth Advisory Commission by definition advises somebody in particular, or whether you all as youth advisors want to advise somebody. I mean, the other issue is, for example, the environmental issues. Many of our youth advisors are people who are deeply concerned about climate change. So there's also an advisory commission about environmental issues, for which there is at this moment a task force looking at renewable energy in the county. So if you can tease that out a little bit and present that to your peers, then perhaps you can say, here is a way in which the Youth Advisory Commission can affect some of the policies and the decisions that are being made in our county, okay? But my last point has to do with your role advising the county commissioners. And I think the county commissioners may not appreciate this from me, but I'm not your official advisor anymore, so now I can speak as I wish. The county commissioners, if they have set up a youth advisory commission, ought to be making some effort to connect with you, to talk to you, to listen to you, to respect your input. And in the time that I was serving with the Youth Advisory Commission, I never saw one commissioner attend a meeting or send a communication. And for you all to invest your valuable time, I mean, Becca, are you still JROTC? I mean, both of you I know have your fingers in all these things, and Mari's doing stuff with Sierra Club. And, I mean, you don't have time to sit there and be a youth advisory commission unless you feel like that does something. And so the question for you all, I think now that you're the second generation of the Youth Advisory Commission, is to decide among yourselves and then to say to Latay and to Cynthia and then to the county commissioners, this is the role we think we ought to be playing. And this is what we want to be doing. Because I think if you speak with that genuine voice of what you want to do and how you want to have an impact, you will in turn bring your peers in. But I think your peers need to get a sense from you of how exciting it could be to engage with the environmental committee, engage with Dr. Brewster, and engage with the county commissioners and have an impact that way. Because I know both of you two young women your purpose is to have an impact, right? And so the challenge is how it is that you can take this monumental opportunity of there being a youth advisory commission that's been established, that Kelsey put a lot of work into, and Aging and Human Services is supporting. How can you turn that into something where you feel like at the end of the day, not that you just have something on your college application, but that you have something that's been meaningful? And I'm willing to answer any questions that may raise with you, but I just think it has to do with, not just feeling it's meaningful, but knowing that what you're doing is having a meaningful impact.
Yeah, I really love how you put that. Yeah, I love how you put that. There should be something that drives us to really talk to the commissioners about these issues that we're trying to discuss right here. Because just talking about it won't do anything. But I feel like what you said was really insightful. I have very strong feelings about a lot of the issues here that we should be talking about the other commissions with. And I feel like part of that, joining this committee, I feel one of the ways we could probably recruit is that we can talk to people in the county government. They'll actually listen to us as long as they come to these meetings. Like, we have to get everyone involved, to get all of the commissioners involved. We have to get the council people involved. They have to be coming to the meetings at sometimes, because as you said, since they don't come here that often, they should be coming a little more often just to see what we're talking about and what we're doing at the moment. But I feel like that could also be a nice recruiting method. But I was wondering how exactly we would get the higher ups to join these meetings or listen.
So this is Marcia Williams. When the Youth Advisory Commission was formed, it was, I thought, a great thing. And I hope that the youth advisors appointed to the commission will be able to do exactly that, talk to the different leaders involved in St. Mary's County. And in fact, during my tenure with the Youth Advisory Commission, we had some great speakers come to the meetings. Unfortunately, the commissioners did not come, but people from different departments within St. Mary's County government did come to the meeting. And I think that the people are interested. Those in the government, those who are heading up departments are interested in hearing from youth voices, because the youth voices are critical. They are the future of this county, and we cannot ignore them, and we should not ignore them. I think the thing is, after they did their presentation and after the youth advisors considered what people had to say, what was lost was to whom they make recommendations to. There wasn't that follow-up. There wasn't that county commissioners coming to seek out recommendations, or whom can the youth advisors go to on the county commissioners board to make recommendations directly and in person or via some formal means of communication. And I think that's what was a disappointment to a lot of youth, or some of the youth who served as youth advisors on the previous commission. And so it is fortunate that we have people who are willing to come to the commission. And I think with whomever you want to invite, you should be able to extend that formal invitation through Latay, and I think someone from the department would be able, or any department you wish to speak to, or fellow commissions that you want to speak to, would come to your meeting. I think the important thing, though, is after they come to the meeting, what action plan can be taken to get your recommendations and your voice heard throughout the county, throughout the commission. And I think that is what the shortcoming is of this commission, is that there is no clear direction as to whom the youth advisors are advising, and there's no clear direction as to what can be done with the recommendations that come from you as youth advisors. Because this board have a lot of ideas and a lot of recommendations, and I think recruitment of other youth and other youth would get involved if they knew of the purpose of the board and that their voices will actually be heard. And I don't know, that might not have answered your question, but I think that part of that, having people come to your meetings and making a presentation, doing a presentation, is following up after they've come to your meeting so that your voice is directed to the right people so that you can make the recommendation.
All right, so I first wanted to thank you, both of you, for your personal observations on the YIC, and reflect on what Marcia said in regards to, sustainability and the environmental field of what we could do with the YIC, because we have started that initiative, and as you said, there's a lack of involvement of our commissioners, but we can still make change through our departments. And where can we involve ourselves within the commissioners? How can we get the commissioners involved? Is a email going to do any change? I don't know. Probably not. But how can we move towards actually stimulating some type of impact in which they see us, and know that we're making change and that we can make change as youth leaders? So I guess my question is, where would we begin on this initiative to maybe stimulate further change through commissioners and their involvement.
Looks like
And I
Kelsey
think
had
that
his
can be
hand raised.
accomplished. Yeah. Go ahead, Kelsey.
Before we jumped off to your question, Murray, I just wanted to point out one thing. Along with everything that just was said, there's also a structural issue, because of the simple fact that this commission's being treated just like you would for an adult commission. It doesn't take into factors that youth are different than adults, and meetings are different than what would be for adults, i.e., how many young people want to be seen televised. That's a drawback, because people feel as if they can't speak their minds, or they have to speak in a certain way in order to be part of the commission. That's first. Second is the fact that you are locked into a location for most of your meetings. You can't go where the youth are. Even without COVID, you couldn't go to Lexington Park and hold a meeting there to draw people in. You couldn't, move it out to the library where young people are in Leonardtown. You couldn't find a place on the north end to have a similar conversation, or out towards the 7th District or any other place. You have to remain in Leonardtown. That means that you have to have families that are able to transport individuals to the governmental center. So you've already set up a structural environment that prevents a lot of individuals from being involved. Be it based on time, be it based on access, be it based on many other factors.
Yeah, good point.
Those elements being changed might see an impact where you have more involvement from the youth.
Yeah.
As for the environmental one, I would say reach directly out to the Environmental Commission and see how you can work together to get those initiatives together. So it's not singularly you, but it's you two together getting that stuff forward.
So I just want to jump in very quickly. I think I didn't jump in quick enough to begin with when the introductions were being made. So my name is Cynthia Brown, and I'm the Human Services Division Manager. I am very pleased with all of the discussion that's going on this evening. I'm taking all kinds of notes. I can tell you that the county administrator is very interested in what's going on with this commission, and I intend to speak with her directly to just let her know about the discussion that's happening tonight. I appreciate both Martha's being here to give that historical background as to how this group came about. Just got a message here. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. So something's happening with my phone, of course. Here we go. Start my video. Okay. Kelsey, I like your ideas about the structural constraints that are going on. And I think that is certainly worth the discussion as to how we might be able to move beyond some of those issues, especially now that I hear the library is going to start opening back up with some, of course, parameters in light of safety with COVID. But there are some fantastic ideas being discussed here. And I guess I just wanted to jump in to let you know that this is a productive meeting and these ideas will be followed up on.
Can I just say, apropos of the Environmental Committee, I, as a citizen, went to attend one of their meetings at some point, and they were in some back room. I mean, so there are committees that function without being in the commissioner's room, sitting up on the podium, and there were no Robert's rules of, it was just, it was a real opportunity for people to sit together and thrash out some issues and talk about who was going to do what next, and talk about who was going to write a letter to whom, and how they were going to send a memo or their regular report to the commissioners in a much less stilted way. So we do know that approach exists. And but one other thing I want to say before, because I always talk too much, but look, I don't know whether anybody's asked the county commissioners to come talk about what they would like to see or what they expected from a youth advisory commission. And so, maybe there's an opportunity to say, we would love for 2 or 3 of you, particularly when it's online this way right now, would you please just join with us and speak to us directly about what you envision, what you would welcome. And then that can become somewhat more collaborative, because I haven't heard that. I mean, I haven't even had that discussion with Commissioner Morgan, in recent, since the whole thing was first set up. And it would be helpful for you all to know what they would welcome or they would be interested in, so that you could find some common ground.
Do you ladies have any follow-up questions or comments?
No, these are really nice ideas, and I really appreciate the ideas you guys are giving us. But yeah, I feel like one of our main issue is that the commissioners aren't too involved in like the working or the purpose of the committee, and I feel like that might be one of our big problems, because without that, we don't really have a set purpose, a set goal or purpose, or someone we can actually reach out to, or where to like kind of set out our recommendations for the county and for the commissioners to put out. But I do love, we can't start with like teaming up with other committees. That would be a very nice start, like the environmental community. And that would be a really nice start to get somewhere with the commissioners, trying to get more involved in these committees. I feel like I like their ideas of how they just meet in the rooms and just hash everything out, like how they're going to write letters, who's going to write letters to where. I feel like that could work for us. We could set different tasks and stuff, just take things one thing at a time, But I don't think I really have any more questions that I can think of at the moment.
Thanks, Rebecca. Marie?
So in regards to Kelsey's restructurement, it seems, of sort of like the YAC, and due to the disadvantages of youth, what would you like to see then if there's limitations on what you believe, we could do on a youth commission, sort of structured as an adult commission?
I'm looking at it as the issue of, this is not the planning commission. It doesn't need to be held out in front on a camera. It just needs to be announced where the meeting is. It just has to give the location where the meeting is. It's got to be a free location, which allows those individuals to be in the places. I'm just saying that having it centrally located in Leonardtown continuously does not behoove the commission in any way, shape, or form, because it doesn't meet youth where youth are. And youth don't use the platforms that adults do. I mean, we know that IG is one of the greatest platforms that are used by youth to communicate and otherwise. We know Snapchat is one of the greatest ways for people to communicate. I don't know if we're there yet, as in the sense of the governmental activities, because of the restrictions that are placed on government when it comes to communication. They can't meet youth how you think. Like group text amongst commission members could be considered extra outside of meeting stuff, but that's how youth communicate in group text. That's part of the problem too, is that it's set up in an ageist fashion. We're not meeting people where they are, but we're putting expectations on them to act in a certain way. And wonder why we can't bring people in, because we're putting them as they would be possibly at 30, not when they're at 16 to or 14 to 22.
So Kelsey, at this particular time, I don't believe any of our county government advisory boards are meeting in person, of course. I know a few minutes ago I said something about the library, but of course I'm thinking further ahead. But where we are right now in compliance with COVID is that none of the advisory boards are meeting in person. But I do like some of these ideas. That's a bit different and unique for what I've seen thus far with county advisory boards, like the group text and Snapchat.
And the other side is, when we're talking recruitment, we're putting in papers, we're putting in, normal everyday. That's not how young people communicate. I mean, trust me, being on a college campus, have learned very quickly that people don't read emails. So, I mean, we have an item that goes out on a daily basis with information. I don't know how many people actually read it. It's a wonderful document, but it comes in the email inbox, and because everyone does text and IG to communicate with each other. So with that in mind, that's the other side. Reaching out directly out to like the community college, reaching out directly to the schools, reaching out directly to all those entities where young people are, to communicate with them in their fashion to bring them in.
May I say that? I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to add that I agree with Kelsey, because one of the goals of the previous board was to recruit more members to the Youth Advisory Commission. And I'm not sure where it fell, but some of the ideas that were generated was a brochure for the Youth Advisory Commission, and those who were already on the board could hand out those brochures to fellow students. Another idea was to go to where the youth are and possibly set up a table and say, this is the Youth Advisory Commission. This is what we do. We're looking for members, and we would like you, or we would encourage you to become a member of the Youth Advisory Commission. And I agree that youth do not look on the county, most youth do not look on the county website to look at notices or view notices of what vacancies are on the board, or look to Facebook, because that generates or is skewed towards more of an older crowd. We need to think from a youth perspective. This Youth Advisory Commission is a great idea. It has so much potential. I would not want to see it fail. So I encourage the advisors of the Youth Advisory Commission, as well as the county commissioners, to step back and take a look from the youth perspective and see where changes need to be made, see how recruitment efforts can be done differently in a way to generate more interest in the Youth Advisory Commission. Those who are already on the board, think of ways where and ideas where youth would potentially become involved with the Youth Advisory Commission, or even know that the Youth Advisory Commission exists. That is another thing, is how many young people know that the Youth Advisory Commission exists? How many young people know what the age range is for the Youth Advisory Commission? There needs to be a media campaign, so to speak, to let people know that the Youth Advisory Commission exists, and to let young people know that they can become involved in their community.
Thank you for your words. I wanted to say, actually, what you mentioned actually made me think of, I don't know if this would be allowed, but like a communications coordinator position on the Youth Advisory Commission. We'd be able to, I mean, I guess that position would embody like public advocacy for the YAC. That would be a great idea, I think. And also, I just wanted to touch on what Kelsey said in regards to, you know, age and how that could potentially divide one from the same opportunity. I feel like we can't really define what someone's going to be like at this age. We can say what their limitations could be, but everyone's different and everyone has different differences and similarities in what they do. Maybe one person would like emails, maybe the other person would like social media, maybe they wouldn't like either. Maybe we need to diversify public advocacy. That's, I think, where we would start.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like we really do have to kind of diversify that just to get started. Because I mean, since the group is so small, it just makes sense to kind of divide up all the public affairs decisions and stuff, and try to get involved. Aren't there committee? Is there a public affair committee? I just want to know, because if so, then I don't know if we could probably do something like that. Because I know you can have ads, sort of ads, kind of, but for the county that can kind of like promote the committees. You can use it to promote committees or some other programs going on. I know they promote Leonard Hall sometimes on there. But yeah, I think public advocacy would probably be our best thing to start out with right now, just to get our names out there and to meet up with at least like spots that revolve around like children, like children's health or like schools and stuff, like just to get our word out. Just like you can start at schools, like school. Like I think we talked about this in meetings before, but to get involved in like the school newsletter, because I know parents and some students do that, so you can get the word out like that. It could be like that. And at the school library as well, I know they have the brochures about programs you can do around the county as well. We could probably get ourselves into that as well by just contacting them.
Right. So I would like to like sort of mention where we left off. We left off on having an informational session, and I was thinking we could develop like a presentation in which we would give at this meeting. But yeah, I think definitely public advocacy and awareness of the YAC is where we start, because we're sort of on a weak leg right now.
Yeah.
In order to sell something, you have to know what it is that you're selling. Mm-hmm. And I guess I have a little bit of a concern that the Youth Advisory Commission, it started from a blank sheet of paper just a couple of years ago, right? And that was a first step, and all institutions evolve as the people who are members of it think, well, this works, this doesn't work, let's continue it this way, but let's modify this. So the Youth Advisory Commission is still young enough as a commission that there's still a real need to think through what is its role and what would you like to see it do, right? Because it was initially formed by adults, including Kelsey, and the county commissioners, thinking this is what would be nice for the young people to have. But in the evolution, it may really be time for you to say, hey, if you're giving us an opportunity to have a government mechanism, this is what we'd like it to do. This is what we how we would form it. Because, look, there are a couple of things that you as young people offer that are exceptional, and one of them is creativity, okay? Thinking in new ways. So rather than taking you and putting you into a square box or a square peg, at this point, having started youth advisory, she said, thank you, we're here. And we've been thinking about it, and you know what? We as young people think that the best way that we could serve other young people and families and our community itself would be to do such and such, and put that forward with real confidence, because you have the authenticity of experience and voice for it to really look the way, sound the way, and act the way that it's going to be effective in the end. Okay. So, there are ways in which, this is what Chelsea's talking about. Everybody's hands were tied initially. The very first meeting was going to be a public meeting. There was no chance even to just sit and whisper about, well, how about if we do it this way or that way? But there's now experience. There's now, 2 years, right, Kelsey, or 2.5 years of experience to say, okay, we almost 3, and we gave it a go. This is what we did. This is what works. This is what we're doing. This is what doesn't work. And this is what we, as 14 to 22-year-olds in 2021, think would be a really effective way to do it. What do y'all think? Wouldn't that be great, county commissioners? We would like to do it this way. And I think that sounds better than when Marsha Williams or I, no offense, Marsha, or Maria, the adult advisors, it's never been up to us. What we've really needed to do is to say to you, it's your game. Go for it. And any one of us is here to work with you, to talk to you in whatever way would be helpful to you. But, I really want to encourage you to say, okay, we've been given an opportunity and this is how we want to use it.
I'll give you the words that a former mentor of mine told me a long time ago. There are 2 things. One, when you do work like this, if you do not evolve, or what does not evolve, dies. All right, so to continue to do what you're doing and not working, that goes into like the whole Einstein thing of insanity, but more or less, it creates that cycle of death. The second thing is, you're trying to ensure that there's no homogeneity, that you have diversity, because things that are homogeneous, completely homogeneous, also die because there is no diversity. Eventually, you kind of breed yourself out of existence. So when recruiting members, that's the reason why you need more voices from different levels to ensure that you have that continual buy-in and not recycling, but new ideas bubbling in from different sectors of youth. Because you're not a monolith. You're representing yourself directly, but you're a voice for a group of individuals who have very divergent views of the world. And it's important for us adults to remember that.
So it sounds like one of our first action items needs to be getting in contact with the county commissioner. And as the new staff support liaison, how does that happen? How do we get in contact with them, and what's the appropriate way to approach them so that we can get this ball moving? Because it sounds like that needs to be the first step.
Cynthia will be able to run you through all of that.
Okay, very good.
Pop back on here. Okay, I'm still listening and taking notes. But yes, that is something that can happen. There is a process that we can go through to put forth that communication.
Okay. Do you guys have any other questions for our youth advisors or former adult advisors? I'll take your silence as a no.
Sorry, I was checking
Okay.
our sheet on minutes. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with everything. I don't have any questions. But thank you all for coming and helping us. It was very insightful and I think beneficial.
Yeah, I don't
I
have any
just wanted
questions
to
either.
add, oh,
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't have any questions either, but your contribution to the group was very thoughtful, and it gave us a lot of ideas on how to go forward with the committee in the future, so thank you.
very quickly, I just wanted to thank the members again. Thank you all for hanging in here, and not getting discouraged and continuing to come to the meetings and generating ideas, and just know that you have people that are here to support you and keep us moving forward. I don't know what's wrong with my camera, but I didn't do that on purpose. Gosh.
And I just want to say, again, reiterate what Cynthia said. Thank you for hanging in there. This is your opportunity to build upon the Youth Advisory Commission and see, basically structure it and try to structure it the way that will be youth-friendly. Keep doing and working towards that. And what Marcia said and Kelsey said, we are here to support you if you ever need a listening ear or need to run anything by us. We're here. We want to see the Youth Advisory Commission succeed, because we know that once it's established and fully established, it will be a voice like none other for St. Mary's County. So keep up the good work, keep up the fight, and we'll be right here to support you.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you again, Kelsey and Marcia Greenberg, Marcia Williams. Thank you so much for joining us. So we'll go back to the agenda. We pretty much touched on a lot, but just briefly to make sure we cover everything. Have you guys given any thought to the different offices that are available? Chair, co-chair, secretary. Did you guys have any thoughts about whether or not any of those offices spoke to you all?
So I myself would like to be the chair, but I don't know.
Okay.
What about you, Becca? What about you?
It's okay. I haven't really given much thought about it, honestly. I probably should have, but I haven't. But yeah, I mean, if you want to, it's fine.
Okay. So
I don't want to like.
Go ahead. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I just didn't want to take a position that she was interested in.
Sure. So you're happy.
all.
You're happy to be the chair, and so
Yeah.
Becca, is it safe to say that you will give it some thought, and think about what speaks to you, if anything at all? There's no pressure. We certainly don't want you to take a role that doesn't feel comfortable for you, and we certainly don't want to not give you opportunity to exercise your leadership skills and things of that nature. So I have that, Marie, you are signing up to be our chair, and Becca, you will give it some thought as to how you want to contribute beyond just, being a member. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I can have some other things to contribute more.
Oh, okay, yeah, and your presence is contribution, enough for sure, and you bring a lot of thoughtfulness to the commission. We know we have these different offices open that we want to fill, and so obviously we want to give you guys opportunity to assume those different roles. Okay, so I think the only other thing that we really need to talk about briefly, you guys all are aware of the proposed meeting dates for the rest of the year. I think I sent those out, just a list of each month, what day it is, and just really paying attention to the months of April, September, and October, as those will not be facilitated on the first Monday of the month. They are actually on the third Monday of the month. So just paying attention to that. Everything else is pretty consistent with that first Monday. Those 3 dates had to be altered because the commissioners' meeting room was not available on the first Monday of the month. I guess it should also be noted that we will not convene in July. So that would be when we will not have a meeting for that particular month. And so were you guys able to look at the flyers, the YAC flyer that will go out to high schools and colleges, local colleges? Did you guys have a chance to review those?
I haven't yet, but do you know where we can find them?
Yes, so they will be in the latest correspondence that was sent out, I believe, this past Friday. So if you check your inbox for this past Friday, which I believe was February the 26th, it would be in that correspondence, as well as the informational session. That's something that you all have to make decisions on as well, as to when that will actually happen and what type of virtual platform you want to have that facilitated on. But I think after tonight's conversation, I think the first step is getting in contact with the county commissioners and inviting them to your next meeting so that you guys can have an idea and have a streamlined understanding as to what they expect, and then you all can in turn take that information and create a game plan as to what your next steps will be. And then perhaps once you have something to sink your teeth in, having that informational session organized so that when you have individuals come to that session to find out who the YAC is, you can not only tell them who you are, but also inform them of what your different initiatives are. So when you guys get a chance, review those, and you can send me an email just saying, hey, yep, this looks great, go ahead and send that out, and I'll make sure that those things are distributed, and also working with the Human Services Division Manager to get in contact with the county commissioners. I think that's step one, and so that will be an action item for myself, and I will send you all out an email to let you know where things stand with that.
Thank you. I'll be on the lookout for that. And yeah, you can just keep us updated on whatever your actions are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, I will make sure to do that. I think Marie is having some technical difficulty on her end, but it looks like we are all set to adjourn this meeting. I was hoping that she would get her technical issues kind of under control there so that we could make a motion to adjourn. So we may have to just do that amongst ourselves, Becca. So I will accept a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting if there's nothing else that you have that you want to discuss.
Yeah, I don't have anything else for this evening.
Okay.
So I motion to adjourn this meeting.
All right, thank you, ma'am. And I am sure that Marie would happily second that, so I'm just going to take her vote in her absence that she seconds this adjournment. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming tonight and being a major contributor to this conversation, and I definitely look forward to next steps in getting the ball rolling for the YAC.
Same for me. It was nice being here.
Yep, thanks, Becca.